Welcome to NFL Daily, where we're in the holiday spirit so much that we're going to drug our dogs and bring them to the mall.
That's right. Dasher met Santa. What did you do last night?
I am in the Chris Wesseling podcast studio with my friends Colleen Wolfe and Jourdan Rodrigue. I recapped a Monday Night Football doubleheader.
Good for you,
with
Gregg.
Nick Shook.
And you mentioned Drake May 14 times.
Oh, I knew you would get on me. We only spent like 4 minutes on the Drake May conversation. I had a whole different intro planned, but you showing me that picture of you and your dog, but mostly your dog and Santa Claus at the mall is amazing. And it was like such a beautiful image. And then you told me, well, but I drugged the hell out of him.
I gave him a trazodone, and he gets triggered easily by pretty much everything and anything. So bringing Dasher to a mall where there's people and then other dogs, and there's just things around every corner. You don't know what's going to happen.
Who among us has never popped a gummy and walked the mall?
Sure. It just felt like it was puncturing my idyllic,
So Dasher had a great night, and then he just melted into the couch afterwards.
Oh, bless him.
Yeah.
Do you think the Santa was drugged up, or?
I cannot confirm.
Was he friendly?
Anything. He was very friendly.
Because poor Eric. I don't know if you got a mic on you right now. Eric goes to the mall earlier this week, brings his lovely baby for the very first time. They're panicking. He doesn't have a mic on him right now. And the Santa wasn't friendly to them at all because his baby, you explain.
Yeah, so me and my wife walked up to the Santa Claus, and I think he kind of connected the dots that, hey, this baby's a baby, 6 months old. He didn't play the role at all.
Connected the dots.
He kind of just talked to me and my wife like it was some regular dude, and he's talking as if my baby saw him. He's like, who the hell's that guy?
No.
And it's like, yeah, he didn't give me a ho, 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 a jolly laugh,
What?
nothing.
You should have gotten a
Ruined the
refund.
illusion immediately for an impressionable young child.
Santa never broke character with Dasher.
That's
Your dog got a better experience than my baby.
That's a professional Santa there. Now, I do get it on some level. As a parent, there is that year where you'll say whatever the hell you want in front of your baby because it's a baby. It doesn't really understand anything. And then you realize after a certain point, you can't say anything.
The problem is, though, Eric, you're going to have to be careful about how you tell that story, because that's going to be a great story eventually that you and your wife tell over the holidays. But now you're going to have to be careful about how you tell it and who it's in front of, because imagine saying Santa broke the illusion.
Yeah, you can't tell that story. You'll tell that when he's
like,
older.
he put you gave him, you goo goo gaga, you wanted a rattle or whatever, and he laughed the day away or whatever.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of hard questions from my my son. This year, 9 years old. That's about the time. We got a big show today. I'm excited for this.
It just keeps getting bigger and bigger, too.
It's beefy.
The show.
We're giving Christmas gifts. We're giving Christmas gifts to teams that need it. It's a little bit of like a secret Santa.
Yeah.
And that's going to be really exciting. We're going to preview Broncos and Chargers, but we're going to start with a very short segment that I added to the mix. And everyone with anxiety isn't thrilled that we added a segment at the last second about the coaching carousel. I just feel like we haven't hit
I like
this.
to bring something to the show, like information.
You do. You know a lot. You've been around the league. You have takes. And the thing is, this is going to be really quick.
Okay, great.
We talked about maybe this could be its own show, but I just feel like now is the time. The coaching moves are going to happen. So what we're going to do, we're going to put a minute on the clock max, but I don't even think we need a minute. I just want to go through all the potential situations of what's out there for the coaches and who could and could not be losing their jobs over the next couple of weeks.
Okay. Lovely to discuss right around the holidays.
Yes. Okay, so let's go. Let's put a clock on. So 3 teams, by the way, have already fired their coaches. We don't need to talk about them. That's the Jets, the Saints, and the Bears. I have 4 categories. One category is he gone, which is Doug Peterson and the Jaguars. I don't think there's much to say here. I appreciate actually that they just decided we're just gonna keep him the rest of the year. He's the best coach in the building, and we'll handle everything. It is interesting. Our friend Ollie Connolly reported that Bill Belichick had a conversation with the Jaguars. He said that on his podcast, so I feel like that's public now. And it did not go well. So they were already talking to people.
Interesting.
Even though Doug Peterson's
well, like I mentioned, that early in September, the time of year, I kept bringing this up about the Jaguars in particular, that the vultures were starting to circle around a couple of jobs specifically that would undoubtedly be losing their head coaches either in season or at the end of the season. the Jaguars were one of those teams that kept coming up in those conversations as coaches who are currently free agents were identifying and putting together staffs, Bill Belichick included.
Yeah, and he obviously didn't get that job. They'll probably replace their
I wonder if
Trent
Mike
Baalke.
Vrabel will end up there, just back in the division.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like the Browns are going to hire him. He's in the building there. So the next category, it's 3 teams. Solid chance. Like, there's a decent chance.
Okay.
So Doug would take it to 4 changes. There's usually about 6 to 7. We could have more this year. Start with the Giants. They've been publicly out there, John Mara, their owner, that they're committed to Brian Dable.
There's like a
Joe
lot of
Shane,
people
but
outside this room right now.
Yeah, you gotta worry.
Gotta
It's
put
We're in the
Christmas
fishbowl,
time.
it's all
There's
right.
some kids.
Hello, gang.
We're waving at them.
We're recording right now. Hello.
Just
Will
gotta
the
stay
Giants
focused.
be waving bye
There you
to,
go.
Brian Dable?
I think he's probably gone.
Yeah.
The way this is going, I don't believe John Mara in this case. Like, I believe he meant it when he said it, but you got the airplane going overhead. Like,
The only thing that trips me up on this is he so publicly said he was going to give them another year, both
happens
of them.
all the time, though.
I get that, but he also, like, why not do it already then, right? That's the only thing. It keeps tripping me up. Like, we kind of already have known that Doug Peterson is a foregone conclusion. And by the way, ownership hasn't come out and emphatically stated he's going to give him more time. That's what's tripping me up about this situation with John Mara. And you hear kind of, people go back and forth up in that market. Well, could they really give them more time or not? It's just the fact that it hasn't already happened is what's tripping me up about this.
That's why I say solid chance. That one I'm going to go like 60-40.
Okay.
Antonio Pierce in Vegas.
Gone. I know he just said that he's under contract for next year, but
That's
I
a
know.
bad sign. I think the Tom Brady factor is a real factor. People around the league, those in the know, they think Tom Brady is going to be a pretty active owner considering the relatively low percentage stake
Mark
he has.
Davis was on the record with my colleague Deshaun Reed last week at the league meetings, or at the one of the many league meetings that take place, saying he was going to be a significant factor in making decisions for this franchise. He has Mark Davis's ear already, and that's a factor here.
Mhm.
Yeah. I want to have Deshaun back on the show. We were talking about having him back on the show, and then the Raiders
He was out talking to Mark Davis.
They're so not relevant. I said, look, if they make a coaching change, we got to get. I hope that's not the only time he can be on, but let's get him back on the show. Let's go to the Cowboys. Mike McCarthy. The longer this goes, and the more reporting around the Cowboys, is actually that Mike McCarthy has a decent chance to stay.
Yeah.
Do you think like Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones and their sources are just like gaslighting us? Because it's a pretty surprising development that the season went as poorly as humanly possible, and Mike McCarthy would be back. That doesn't make sense to me.
No, especially with what Dak said when he was like, if McCarthy comes back and is allowed or sort of like, given a little bit more, responsibility to
actually
run the
make
offense.
decisions,
Yeah, to do
yeah.
his thing.
I don't buy it. I actually still think McCarthy is more than likely gone. I just think they're like raising the intrigue.
I think this is another way of planting the seeds to get us to talk about the Cowboys for a lot longer
Smart.
into the offseason. But the fact that Dak Prescott was lobbying for McCarthy, that is someone that Jerry Jones is going to listen to. He won't necessarily listen to a lot of people, but Dak Prescott, who he just paid the most money to any player he's ever paid, like, he's going to listen to Dak Prescott.
Jerry Jones is getting up there in life too, and it's like, do I really want to find another coach that I might not work with well? Mike McCarthy's very comfortable. He knows his place in the Cowboys ecosystem.
Or the reverse of that.
They like each other personally, clearly.
Time is ticking, and do you want to just like keep shooting your shot?
Well, yeah. If McCarthy can get another contract out of them, like go get it. He has exceeded any reasonable expectation for how much money he has made, and good on him.
Ever
All right,
since that PFF subscription.
let's go to the less than likely. This is under 50% chance, but I'm going to put it a maybe. I have 2 teams here. It's Gerard Mayo and it's Todd Bowles in Tampa, which would sound crazy because the Bucs are playing well. We'll start with Mayo. He's part of my next segment, so I won't even go on here.
Okay.
I'm going to give him just a short gift, but I don't know. Every week there's something here.
But this is like the beginning of the beginning, so I feel like you need to give him at least another year.
Sometimes when you know, though. And it would be admitting defeat if you're Robert Kraft, but I don't know.
I feel like he should get a longer runway than I think
Yeah.
some of the external narrative. There have been some big snafus. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not excusing those, but we've seen young head coaches who have gone on to be very successful have some of those like public verbal F-ups. Dan Campbell,
Yeah.
I wouldn't call that an F-up, but everyone was making fun of Dan Campbell. Everyone was making fun of Nick Sirianni. Now, I'm not saying Gerard Mayo is necessarily going to evolve into that caliber of a coach. I mean, Nick Sirianni's still having verbal snafus left and right, even when nobody asked.
Yeah, but what about the football snafus? That's the bigger thing.
He's winning games. But
They look lost.
Yeah,
They
but I
look
think
lost.
if you are a young head coach and you are being given the reins by ownership like this, with the understanding that you're going to adapt and evolve in the job, like there's ownership and timeline patience and ecosystemic patience, and then there is impatience from the outside in. And I think those two are not congruent.
I just think they're one of the most poorly coached teams in the league, and you have a gift in
that.
Drake
That
May.
can be true.
Yeah.
That can be true. It doesn't mean that it has to stay that way. That's my only point. Like
right.
people who are football people who are committed to that type of evolution.
Okay, we're way over. Let's go to Todd Bowles.
I thought you wanted to talk about the Patriots a lot.
No, we were going on we've been actually good going to the minute every time. Todd
Todd Bowles
Bowles.
stays.
The only reason I brought this
Yeah,
up,
why?
First of all, they would have to lose down the stretch and probably not win the division. But in that scenario, I just think they can't let Liam Cohen out of the building. And they have promoted from within a couple times before, for what it's worth. So there is some history with this ownership. I just think if it's going to cost you Todd Bowles, and Ollie Connolly, who was on the show, he's made this point too, like, then you need to just find a way to keep Liam Cohen. It's just too important.
That PR hit, I mean, like, I just don't see
With who?
I mean, getting rid of Todd Bowles, he's had the success. If they end up winning the division and they're in the playoffs, like, how can you get rid of Todd Bowles and promote Liam Cohen? That would be such a slap in the face.
If they win the division, you're right. And people make these. This is why it's in a way less than likely. But if they lost one of these games and the Falcons somehow get it, it's unlikely. I just think it's so important to have that offensive coach letting Cohen leave. Maybe they can give him a lot of money. And then the final section, it's 5 guys in the and these can be quick. I think most of them would be quick. Zach Taylor, I don't believe that this would happen, but this has been a fiasco this year.
Kind of depends on what Burrow wants, really. It's going to. We don't know what he wants or doesn't want in this case.
And so much has just been bad luck and bad timing.
Why is that?
I just think, like, the way that Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase are playing, like, the defense is bad. I feel like Lou Anarumo, potentially, he's probably gone. But I don't think this is on Zach Taylor. Like, he still has the players with it. They still want to play for him. They want to be involved. Like, it's like you're not losing the locker room at this point.
This would be probably
Try to do better,
more nuanced on, like, a longer segment. But a lot of what owners ask themselves this time of year is how many other teams would immediately go hire that guy if I were to fire him?
Yeah.
Or if I were to let him go. And then also, do I already have someone in mind who I can guarantee will be better than that guy?
And then the Jags hire Zach Taylor after getting rid of Press Taylor.
Right. I think the answer for Zach Taylor would be he wouldn't get hired. He's got great
Merry
players.
Christmas,
your
Gregg.
Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow examples to me is the proving the point again. Stefanski, by all accounts, is going to be safe. So despite that record, it really does sound like they're going to go back for the 2-time Coach of the Year and that he would be safe. Steichen, I just wanted to mention, he's going to be on the hot seat most likely going into next year when you're going into year 3. But I think they're going to be committed to him. Dave Canales has helped to improve everything in Carolina. I will say I've seen it so many times that all the surprising moves happen when surprising things happen the last couple weeks. Like if the floor just fell out and they lost 3 straight games like they lost to the Cowboys, then who knows? Anything's on the table.
I politely disagree. I think that Canales and his offensive staff will be safe. I think that he's going to want to bring in his own choice for defensive coordinator. And Ejiro Evero is going to go get a job somewhere else. But we have to remember what some of the reporting was before entering the year, where other teams thought that they could get Ejiro out of the last year of his contract and were courting that possibility. And Dave Tepper did not let him go. That's not Dave Canales' hire. And now after this year, I think that that's what he might do, is go and look for his own guy to bring in and make that hire versus being paired with somebody. And a team is going to get a great DC in Ejiro if that's the case.
Yeah, he would get hired quickly. And then finally, Kyle Shanahan.
I would say the Falcons too, by the way, if he ends up anywhere else. I don't know why. That's just like
as a DC.
Yeah.
Oh hell yeah.
Yeah.
that would make sense.
He could. I mean, he'll
Good
probably
match.
have options of where he could
Hiring committees, are you listening to Colleen?
Yes.
I have no reason to believe that John Lynch and the 49ers are anything but truthful on their stance that Kyle Shanahan is going to be there forever. But when Troy Aikman throws it out there on Monday Night Football, like he just starts
He wants
talking
to see
about
chaos.
Caleb and Kyle Shanahan, and that they should try to trade for Kyle Shanahan. I was like,
So chaotic.
Troy, I could be wrong, but I feel like Troy wouldn't just throw that out there. You know what I mean? It's like when you have reporters just say things, like they're not just saying it. It's coming from something. So I'm like, all right, well, if Troy threw that out there,
You're
I mean,
saying
at least
he doesn't have an original thought like that?
he would,
No.
but I don't think he would throw. I think he's careful enough. He wouldn't throw it out there in that spot unless
Millions of people watching.
he knew
Okay,
something.
my craziest take, if the tiny table was here, I would stand on. I do think because there's a gap between maybe the perception of coaches who are ready, who are offensive coaches who are ready to take the big job, and the actual existing hiring pool. It's like Ben Johnson, who may or may not even want to go to your franchise depending on the situation. And I think the Bears genuinely are looking into the possibility of trading for somebody. But my hottest theory take, it's not based on any reporting, but just based on what this team has to be and is looking for right now. You know, Kevin O'Connell has not gotten his extension yet for some God only knows why reason. And he's got until 2025. What if you're the Bears and you say, how much would it take? I know they would never do it, Greg. I know. You're giving me Greg face. I know that. But I'm just saying the
Rest in Greg face.
The craziest.
It always rears its head.
Like that's like imagine you're like the Vikings and you're like, oh yeah, you know what? We could find another one of these. They haven't extended him yet. Extend the man.
They should extend him.
He could leverage this maybe into.
I'm just saying, I wouldn't be
money.
surprised if you heard like some weird, crazy like shenanigan rumors about this
That would be fun.
based on trying to get that extension done.
He is the new favorite for Coach of the Year. We did it quickly. I think it was good. Just a little like where we're at.
Temperature check.
Temperature check. We're at 4 head coaching openings. If Doug is gone as we expect, I'm putting the over under at 7 this year. I feel like there's going to be a handful more. It'll be interesting. Watch this space. All right, let's get to. I mean, that is kind of like Grinch stuff. That's why it's even better not to do it on our next show, which we're taping on Christmas Eve morning. So that would be rude for that. Colleen, we're going to try to check in with your family maybe.
I'll
see how you're doing back in Philadelphia.
for the holidays.
We're keeping it warm here. Let's do something nicer. Let's give out gifts to teams. Let's be the secret Santa that these teams need. I think in your all red get up today, you should go
a
first.
Sweatshirt and a hat, but yes. Okay, yeah.
Go for it.
Yay!
All right. So here we go.
Oh wow.
I was thinking about giving Jerry Jones window treatments, like some curtains,
Ooh.
but
fun.
I don't know. He's such a tough person to shop for. I like this one better.
What do you get for the man who
Has
literally
everything. Except for playoff wins. Okay, watches are a really popular gift this time of year. I prefer a menswear watch that looks expensive but isn't, if anybody wants to be my secret Santa. But specifically, I would like to give a pocket watch to Caleb Williams. And to be honest, I feel like I'm doing more of a service than giving a gift with this. We need him to learn when to get rid of the ball. And like, I'm here to wish him a happy and healthy new year. But considering he's been sacked a league leading 58 times, he needs a lot more than my well wishes at this point. 58 sacks. It's the 3rd most by a rookie quarterback since 1970 and 13 more than any other NFL quarterback this season. I get it. It's not all on Caleb. The offensive line has allowed a ton of unblocked pressures, so I'll throw in some of Phil Swift's Flex Seal just as like an added gift here.
Nice.
But Caleb is top 10 in longest average time to sack this season. So a pocket watch or a stopwatch, whichever has faster shipping on my Amazon account is what I will be doing here.
Nice. I love it. Yeah, that offensive line, every time I watch them, I'm just dumbfounded by that group. So let me also be clear. Like, I appreciated the aggressive calls in the first half on 4th and short, 4th and 1. There were some of the side angles. of the lack of push and, in fact, the inversion and implosion of that offensive line was just getting moved backward off the spot. If you can't gain a yard on a must-have-it season, already lost, but reputation on the line kind of situation when it has been stated and mandated that you're going to be aggressive, trying to do anything you can to actually just win one or get points on the board, and you're getting pushed backward like that, I mean, that's embarrassing.
But to your point, I agree that the offensive line has been an embarrassment, but I think Troy Aikman, again, he was pretty pointed.
He
That's
didn't
like,
hold back.
Troy.
He did not hold back at all.
and he's just like, yeah, there's a million wide open guys that Caleb's staring at, and he's not throwing it. And
missing a.
it's okay to point. Like multiple things can be true. That he's maybe got coached too hard to not make a mistake, and he's just a little frozen there. And then he said, Troy, that is, said Caleb is his harshest critic. Like, he was saying, there's all these throws that I just keep missing that I wouldn't miss in college. And you saw it. Like, he just missed open receivers on throws that were there. It's just he's a little scrambled.
Touchdown, I think, to Keenan Allen.
The Bears.
So I do love this gift, Colleen, because it's a symbol in a way.
Pocket watch.
Well,
it's also a play on words.
Exactly. I love a play on words.
I love it. The concept of time being so crucial for Caleb. Right?
Love that.
Just give it a couple more cycles around this here pocket watch, and things will get better, buddy.
Very important for the entire
Multiple
NFL.
levels
I'm gonna say,
to that one.
Yeah.
Thank
Nicely
you.
done.
I overthink everything, and sometimes it works out.
That was amazing. Yes, Bears, please. We know you're going to be in prime time 5 to 6 times every year, especially with Caleb Williams. So this is important for this show. It's important for the entire NFL. Get this hire right. I mean, the Bears.
But most importantly, this show.
Yeah, they couldn't
What are
mess.
they
They
gonna
couldn't mess
trade
it
for?
up.
What are they gonna trade?
I'm going to give a present. I'm going to give C.J. Stroud.
Oh, Merry Christmas!
I don't know if we can do that all every time. It's too intense.
I think we should.
I like the sounds, but
The reindeers?
the
Jingle bells?
Santa. He almost sounds like the A Christmas Story guy, like ho ho ho.
You got a real problem with
pushing him in
Santa.
town. You're with the guy who was messing with Eric's lovely boy. I mean,
This is
come
where
on.
it all started.
I'm giving C.J. Stroud a weighted blanket. Okay.
I love that.
Weighted blankets can help put your nervous system into rest mode, actually. It helps with anxiety, helps reduce some symptoms of that, and often gives people that have the weighted blanket an overall sense of calm. And I just think CJ's going to need it. It's also good practice for how it feels to have a defensive lineman on top of you during a game. So it's just like you'll get used to that.
During a game.
He's
Right.
being
Important clarification. Thank you, Gregg.
he's being asked a lot. Like, he just looks stressed. They come out of their bye week, and you think, okay, our coaches are going to come up with a plan for it. We're going to call plays, maybe a little more under center, stuff that helped me out last year. The protection's going to be better. And for one drive, they looked like the 2023 Texans. And then the rest of the game happened, and it was a total disaster up front and all these unblocked pressures. Meanwhile, he's kicking back, watching my guy Troy and Joe Buck on Monday Night Football, and he's hearing them
This
talk
is the third Troy
Yeah.
reference.
He's hearing them talk about potential head coaching candidates for Caleb Williams, and he mentions Bobby Slowick,
Oh,
the
no.
offensive coordinator. It's like, well, he will be available because, like,
Oh, no.
this guy is putting so much stress on C.J. Stroud's life because they are not helping this kid out. And this is sort of what it looks like when what's happening to Caleb Williams is happening, but the player's just more ready for the moment and is better and is making everyone else around him look better because he's holding it up to at least a good enough level. But man, he's going to need this weighted blanket. I think it's going to soothe him and realize, like, I'm in a good place in my career, and, like, we're going to make the playoffs, and it's probably not going to go that well, but overall, like, I'm doing well. They'll help me out.
He's taken so many sacks this year. He must feel like he's already under a weighted
There you
blanket.
go. There you go.
Right? I mean, like, just watching the difference from last year to this year, he was able to extend so many more plays last year and just make these throws on the run, and it just isn't on the same page with his receivers.
And you know what? He did it pretty well Sunday against the Dolphins. It was
that was an improvement.
It was kind of back to, okay, let's just have CJ fix everything. And he did for a game, but they had under 200 yards and they had a dominant defensive effort.
Certainly not sustainable for a 17-plus game season to play like that, like as if you're trapped in a chimney, right? Like,
also, I'd like a weighted blanket. Doesn't that sound nice?
You did when you were opining about it and you kind of had your hands clasped in front of your heart. I was
Sounds
like,
great.
Is this what Gregg wants for Christmas?
It does sound great. I mean, my wife has a heated, pad that she always lies on the couch. You know those?
Oh yeah,
It's nice.
Those are nice. You're just always.
Is it weighted too?
Those aren't weighted. That's not weighted. They're separate. So that's nice. And sometimes I'll go over to her little couch area and steal that little warmth in the morning when
You
she's
get a weighted
not
one.
around. Right, but then the next level would be the weighted blanket.
That's what I have.
Oh, you do have it.
It's great.
Oh,
Well, it's only like a neck one, so it's not that big.
Ooh.
But sometimes I'll just like put it like a blanket instead of wearing it around my neck, and it's awesome. Highly recommend.
Sneaky cold, in the mornings and at night in those beach towns.
really
I mean,
is.
everyone feel bad for us.
I will always lose the heat from my space heater right in the morning, and I couldn't figure out for the longest time like where it was going. And then I realized my dog Tucker is getting up from his bed and standing with his butt to it and facing into the room. And so he stands there so he can feel the space heater on his butt floofs. Like he's got really fluffy hindquarters
Yeah.
legs, so he likes the heat. And I'm like, where was my heat going? And then I realized.
Wind was touching my butt.
Very good.
Bravo.
Dra-
Bravo.
Excellent work.
Surprise drop of the year there
Bravo.
by Eric Roberts. That was your Christmas present to me. I don't expect anything else. That was it. Thank you very much.
No,
All
it's-
right, Jordan, you're up.
Well, my gift is not going to someone in need.
Okay.
To the Green Bay Packers, my gift to you is a Command-C, Command-V button to copy and paste what worked for you in the first half on Sunday night for usage into the postseason. Very
Okay.
sustainable way, if you can do it. They got Josh Jacobs going early, got movement immediately on the line of scrimmage against that ascending young front in Seattle that's been playing very well lately. This Packers offensive line, all drafted and developed, most of them middle round players. They've all played the majority of snaps together this season and at their own position, which any coach will tell you it's not just continuity of health, but continuity of staying in one spot for most of the season that really makes a difference this time of year. These are a group of big, badass dudes moving in gorgeous synchronicity and moving the ball like that on the ground the way that they did. Josh Jacobs touched the ball, had 9 touches out of the first 10. It really settled Jordan Love in. I've been trying to get a read on what makes him most comfortable entering a game and gets him to, really settle in quickly. And it's physically running the ball and that they have been doing. And
Or maybe he has a weighted blanket.
that's maybe
before the game.
this offensive line is his weighted blanket, metaphorically speaking.
Very,
love that.
Very heavy.
I love that for him. But it's clear that when he is settled as early as possible with which is what they did, which is what their script was essentially in the openers, he is absolutely an astonishingly efficient thrower, but also making some really gorgeous throws down the field that are just electric. And I think like a weighted blanket would be, or like a heated weighted blanket would be. I'm going off the rails. I just think so. They were also getting pushed on the other side of the ball early in the half. The Packers defensive line was brought to life in this way. That was, yes, the Seattle offensive line is a complete and utter disaster, has been all year, but just asserting themselves and dominating up front the way that they did so early, that is December football, that is January football. If they can Command-C, Command-V, copy-paste via this gift that totally exists that I'm giving
Right. It's
them.
going to be difficult. I guess if you open it up, it's just last week's game plan. It's copied and pasted.
Well, I guess if I was going to follow the game correctly, that's what I should have said. But,
Okay.
I'm thinking more
We're
of
just
things.
we're making this up as we go
I'm
along.
making up
I
an
love a
invention.
copy and paste. I use
Yeah.
it all the time.
Yeah, and I just think that particular, if I were going to create
Thanks,
a gift, create a gift in this very real game that we're playing, if I'm going to create a gift for the Green Bay Packers, I think no team is going to hang with them easily. No team is going to hang with them easily, especially into the postseason, if they are able to come out of the gate in that particular style and with that ethos.
They came out so fast, and that was the emphasis because Jordan Love talked about it afterwards, saying how they didn't do it before, and that's been sort of an issue for them. So coming out strong and then having Josh Jacobs, I mean, they ran on those 2 touchdown drives, they ran 18 plays, and Jacobs had the ball on 11 of them.
Love that balance. One thing that I'll think to put on my list next year is a better understanding of the game.
No, I think
From me to me.
Works. It works. It's not a game. We're just giving.
We make up the rules.
We're just giving gifts.
Sometimes, Colleen, to your point, sometimes I overthink things and it doesn't work.
I love it.
Same, girl.
And look, this Packers team is on the list of teams that if they won the Super Bowl this year, I wouldn't be that surprised.
I agree.
Maybe
100%.
maybe that's our segment next week. Like, what is that list? It's probably about 6 or 7 teams for me. 5, 6, 7 teams. And the Packers are one of those teams.
It's gonna
be tough for them. They're gonna have to win 3 road games.
Well, I think about last year.
But again,
But it's possible.
that's what I factored in when, inventing this gift for them out of technology that we definitely have at this point in our lives. If you are going to be on the road, if their playoff seating is such to where they are going to be on the road to start out, this is exactly the style of football that gets you wins on the road in this type of environment, like with the stakes so high. And again, like I've sort of been suspicious of this in a positive way with Jordan Love for a while now, that he is absolutely, like, there is no ceiling for him at a certain point as long as he gets settled and really is comfortable early on, gets settled, feels the rhythm of the game, importantly, feels that space that his line is creating for him. He can really understand very, very quickly, and among the best in the league right now, at understanding how to manipulate that to his advantage once he does get settled. If he's not settled early, he can be a bit erratic.
Yeah,
I like the gift of space and time, too.
Oh, my God.
Him,
Thank you for saving me.
Space and time.
Over 9 yards, adjusted yards per attempt over the last month in aggregate, and like that is MVP level numbers, at least from Jordan Love. All right, let's take a quick break. We got a lot of gifts to hand out.
Some real, some not real.
Jordan's gonna try to refigure out what the segment is all about after this. It's like the magic of Christmas. All right, we're outside of our weighted blankets that we all were under during the break. We've all taken some muscle relaxers.
Trazodone,
really
I passed them out.
Get loose for this next round of Secret Santas. If we go fast enough, maybe we'll do a couple rounds here, and then we'll talk some TNF. Colleen.
Okay.
I bet you're a great gift giver.
Well, it's always last minute, so that's kind of an issue. I'm someone who says, you know what, I was going to get you, and it's something really, really thoughtful, but I never executed on time. So, the thought.
I was just thinking about that
counts.
yesterday, that it's not the thought that counts. If the thought counted, I'd be awesome.
Yeah.
But I never, I rarely am going through with the nice things that you think about. So it's not the thought that counts. They're lying to you, kids.
Yeah, I mean,
it's the action. That's it.
The
action that counts.
The follow through.
Yes, that's what
I
counts.
saw Steve Weich in the newsroom last night, and I was like, I haven't bought one gift yet for anyone. And he's like, oh, Wolfie, I got my Christmas shopping done before Thanksgiving.
Oh,
before Thanksgiving.
That does not surprise me one bit.
All right, give a gift out then.
Okay, fine. This is my second gift, I guess, that I got. And I'm giving. Okay. It kind of feels like you need 27 different streaming services to watch your shows this year. So I would like to give Giants fans the gift of access to joy once again. Now, this is actually quite personal for me because I just recently signed up for another streaming service to watch a show that debuted 22 years ago. That show is The Wire, and that streaming service is HBO Max. And I thought of Giants fans.
Max now. They don't like it when you
right.
call it
Okay.
HBO.
Max.
Just
So
Max.
whatever. Max. And I thought of Giants fans because we're both watching a lot of the Homicide Unit at this point. Mine, a fictional drama. There's a terrible reality show. But I want to bring back the good times, the smiles for Giants fans with the gift of Max, so you can rewatch the off-season Hard Knocks since that's when their season.
Oh.
Merry Christmas.
This is, I want to say beneath you, but you're so small as it is. It's hard to get there. I love it. I love it.
And catch us on Fast Channel.
Yeah. Please do. Joe Shane. I didn't mention him in the whole coaching thing, but
I was going to bring that up. If that's a package deal, or if you could see maybe Brian Daboll going and not, or Joe Shane going and not Daboll.
I think that is how they will split the baby, which is a weird phrase, but I think Joe Shane will stay. There's something about Joe Shane that I just think John Mara wants to work, and he desperately wants stability. He wants to be the Roonies, and that'll be like the closest he can get is, I think, keeping Joe Shane at least. And I think more teams are doing that in general, like keeping front offices, keeping the structures, but changing out the coaches, or sometimes the GM is gone, but a lot of the people underneath them stay.
Joe Shane has the caliber. I mean, it's hard to argue for any of this, right? But like, he has the caliber of what this draft class's potential is, of some of the non-Saquon related moves.
Yeah, they had a good draft.
And so I think that's where, because you can see process, product, and result looks terrible, but if you can see process, if you're Mara, and then you can also see that on the coaching side, and you're maybe not thrilled with any of it, that this could be potentially it. But again, this trips me up because of what he so emphatically said. And I just don't think he likes being embarrassed like that. Like there was some interesting stuff. The market, they were like saying, okay, well, he doesn't mind booing. He doesn't mind strife in a moment with some sort of a fix at the end of it. But it's like people not caring, or people being embarrassed by his decisions is what he can't handle. And I don't know. It's like they've got at least a young core.
He's done it before, though. I was living in New York at the time. Like, he's said we're not going to fire the coaches, and then he fired the coaches. So that's kind of
his reputation now.
That's what I'm going off of a little. I love too that
was a great.
Colleen just loves punching down on the Giants as a rival, which I get. There was something. It brings out the worst in you because
which is actually the best,
right? Because like, no matter how good the Patriots were and how bad the Jets were, that was the one team you just wanted to beat, and
it's like a stress ball.
And saying that was the peak of their season, they weren't happy even then. The expectations were very low, and they were getting made fun of like even during that season with Saquon. But you're right, it really was the highlight. I'm gonna give a book to the entire Ravens team. So everyone in the organization, all the players, it's going to be a book. It is called Never Easy, Never Pretty. It's by a man called Dean Bartoli Smith. I'm also going to give out from our friends at NFL Films a copy of America's Game 2012. This book is about the story of the 2012 Baltimore Ravens, and America's Game, of course, our great documentary that we do after every Super Bowl win. Mm-hmm. And it's a story of a team that John Harbaugh coached that was worse than literally every other team that John Harbaugh ever coached. And it won the Super Bowl.
Wow.
And it's a reminder that sometimes it's not the season that was pretty throughout. You know what the 2012 Ravens were doing around this time of the season? Losing 3 straight games. You know what their defense was doing all season? They looked like trash. It was by far the worst defense Ed Reed and Ray Lewis were ever associated with. They were a lot worse than this defense. You know what they did at the end? They won the Super Bowl, and that was after 3 straight years where if you look at the point differential and the DVOA and all that stuff, those Ravens teams were among the very, very best in the league. And the numbers would say even this year they are, but I know they've lost a lot of games. There's a different feeling, and it's a reminder to Lamar Jackson, like, no one remembers everything Joe Flacco did before or really after.
No.
You just got to play your best for 4 games in the playoffs, and that's all that matters. And to me, this is a much better team than the 2012 Ravens that ended up winning that Super Bowl. You just got to play your best then. And it's going to be a reminder for this team. Like, maybe it's the year that you don't see coming.
They sound like they also could use some sort of magical button that exists to reapply certain strategies to the current model that was used in the past, like a Command-C, like some sort of metaphysical like button.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, I agree. I think that would be awesome. Great gift idea, Gregg.
And what a great book it is by Dean Bartoli Smith. I got to admit, I have not. There aren't many books out there.
There's no books anymore.
About the 2012 Baltimore Ravens, but never rest easy, never pretty. Never easy, never pretty. I remember you, Ravens. Like, that was not a good team. Sometimes teams that aren't that good actually win the Super Bowl. And I actually think this Ravens team is quite good.
What, like the Giants?
They just have Yeah, like they weren't great during
Kidding.
during the regular
Kidding,
season.
kidding.
I just mean during that regular season. Yeah, like Harbaugh had been around at that point, I think, for 4 years. And all the other teams, if you look at like there's a value that Pro Football Reference has, like they were all way better teams. They were 11-win teams, 12-win teams, all this. This team had so many problems. And like, does literally anyone remember that at this point? Like, no one cares. All that matters is the playoffs. All right, give me a gift. Not me. Give someone a gift.
Subliminally placing that in my brain. Once again, I will show my absolute mastery of the theme here. So we don't know if Pat Mahomes is going to be playing the next couple of games. He said Tuesday morning that he's going to try with dealing with an ankle sprain that's not as serious as one that he had before. My gift, also based it totally in reality, to Patrick Mahomes, if he does play for the next couple weeks, is he is allowed to pick any 2 NFC tackles. They don't have to be on the same team to protect him in the game.
Oh, wow.
What a gift.
In the games leading up to the Super Bowl, the only rule is that he cannot use them in the Super Bowl itself.
Wait, why?
Because they could potentially be on a team that he's playing.
Okay.
I mean, come on.
But like
In
also
this
in the
scenario.
playoffs.
Yeah, you
too.
got to make it
Sure.
realistic. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why
I do
they're
like the caveat.
NFC tackles. So
Okay.
I am so obviously there's little context here. I know people know the history of the situation that he's going through, but DJ Humphries was signed to help alleviate issues inclusive to injury and performance between the tackles. The left tackles, Wanya Morris and Kingsley Suamataia. DJ Humphries was not active this week. He's dealing with a hamstring issue. They've moved Joe Thuney at times, which means that they're sort of deconstructing a really still very solid interior offensive line in order to patch different holes, which, if what I said at the top, continuity of position is also incredibly important this time of year. And hat tip to Dan Pizzuta for tracking this. Patrick Mahomes has taken 7 or more hits in a game for the 7th week in a row, which ties the record for most such games since 2000.
Oh,
So that's not sustainable. So my gift to him, I think he is not only wants it, but very much in need of it if he does play. And I'm going to go, and they're NFC tackle, so I'm going to go Penei Sewell on the right side.
Okay.
And Andy Reid can also use him as a receiving threat.
Okay.
Yes.
Love
And I'm going with Tristan Wirfs at left tackle.
this. Okay.
Who are you guys picking? Who are you picking?
I think those are the two. Those are the two
Yeah.
All-Pro tackles.
If Lane Johnson didn't get like banged up, maybe I'd put
Oh.
Lane in there.
I would say Lane would be good because he
Because
knows
Andy?
he knows how to get there in the postseason, and he's sort of like that long haul trucker.
I mean, if Lane Johnson's
Andy
banged
Reid.
up, I'd hate to see what he looks like, healthy, because he didn't give up a single pressure last week against TJ freaking Watt. So I don't know. He is all right. I'll go Lane Johnson just for some
spice,
mix
some
it
sugar
up,
and
some-
spice.
Tristan Wirfs. That is a great gift. He would love that. And
Thanks, guys. I
it's-
needed that.
it's okay. I think sometimes it's Christmas. You want to live in a fantasy world. So
This is
even
like
if-
when people
even if
buy.
you can't make it happen, like just
Yeah.
imagine it, and suddenly Joe Thuney will be Tristan Wirfs out there.
This is the gift equivalent of when your significant other buys you a star. Like you don't actually own that star.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
You have a piece of paper that says this is your
Mhm.
star, and some bullshit romance trope. But it's not really your star. It is the universe's star, and it has died long before you can even see the light from it.
Yikes!
That's deep.
It's kind of, or when
I'm
they
doing great.
Here's a dead star. Merry Christmas.
they sell these, they sell these trinkets. So it'll be like you can like adopt this dolphin for $50, and you get a little certificate, and they're probably like stealing half
Yes.
that money.
So this is my gift, my
not that we're
gift
cynical.
equivalent of that to Patrick.
By the way, Lane Johnson only missed 1 play, but
Okay.
it was so scary that it just worried me that maybe there would be some type of lasting effect.
Oh,
feel
he
that.
was playing like hurt the rest of the game, and he was still awesome. It's
Yeah.
crazy. I did
He's
get
so
my
good.
son a certificate of adoption of a koala. I remember, like 5 years ago or something, and it was
Where
it's,
wa-
it's
where
like
was
a
this
donation. It's like
koala?
a donation to the Koala Society in Australia or whatever, something like that. And they give you a little certificate, and you get a newsletter. All right,
Have you checked in with it recently?
I really want to go to Australia to go to their little. They have a little koala party going on there.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Preservation Society. I don't.
Now you have my
Let's go.
attention.
Let's go. All right. Last gift from
Okay, this is like
Colleen.
a quick-
or it could be
Very speed.
if you got any speedy ones. Sure.
This is for Bills fans.
Okay.
And it's a collection of Haley Steinfeld's music and movies to thank her for unlocking Josh Allen's full potential. Because since they got engaged during the Bills bye week,
Oh my God.
Josh Allen has 14 total touchdowns, 0 turnovers, 0 sacks taken, and the Bills are averaging 42 points per game in those 3 weeks. So, Haley, on behalf of Bills Mafia, and my friend Buffalo Terry, who lives in Buffalo, obviously, if that's her name, gave me permission to say this, so I can. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Like that, as good as he has ever been, like this is even better. And
He is on a heater right
it
now.
is, I mean, it kind of makes sense.
Winter
You know,
of
a
Josh.
man that is that
Happy.
happy in his
In
life.
love.
It doesn't mean you have the room here, Bills fans, to do any blaming if it turns south at some point. There's
Right.
I've seen
Yeah,
too much
no
of that.
double
so
standards here.
yeah, the other
please.
the other
Yeah.
side of it has not been great over the years sometimes in these situations. I am gonna give a gift to NFL Daily, actually. So everyone behind just
So to yourself, okay.
well,
Is it a real gift or is it a star?
it's more for the NFL. We're going to go ahead and buy some ads on Micah Parsons' podcast in the offseason because this is going to be the podcast of the offseason. I don't know if you saw the Cowboys soft launching their new offseason story over the weekend, Micah Parsons trade candidate. That is going to make the Micah Parsons podcast like one of the fastest growing podcasts in the game. I think there could be a lot of carryover with listeners like enjoying both. So I'm giving NFL Daily. I'm sure iHeart, if you're listening out there, or the NFL will
The
support
gift of
me
a
in this.
budget.
Yeah, we've had no complaints, and they've been great. But yeah, we're gonna do some advertising on the Parsons podcast because this is gonna be the story of the offseason, which Ian Rappaport helped to introduce. So
Wow.
thank you, Ian. It was like,
His gift to us.
yeah, it was these quotes. It was these quotes from Stephen Jones where he was saying, well, it's a balancing act you need to look at. Are we paying our top players too much money? Maybe we need to spread it out because when those top guys get hurt, like Trevon Diggs and whatever, like you really see we're missing the depth. And it very much felt like a soft launch, either of a mostly fabricated story just to get attention, or Micah Parsons, who's
The Cowboys have never done that.
kind of known as being a little bit of a high maintenance player. You know, maybe they would be considering actually trading like the best pure pass rusher I've ever seen come into the league. I think this podcast is going to go off.
That would be insane.
That's what they want you to think so that you keep talking about it, Greg.
That-
We've been over this.
Well, that was what I said. It's one or the other, but I actually think
I think Micah
they're
gets
dumb
it
enough
too.
to do this.
I think Micah understands it too. I think he and Jerry Jones can sort of pull all of the levers and be the Woody Harrelson gif of crying into their fistfuls of money at the end of this.
It's called the Edge with Micah Parsons.
It's a great show.
by the way.
Very candid.
And I think, this if he is on the trade block, like I can just picture it's not that far away. We're at the combine. We're doing a show from there, and everyone is talking about the biggest story of the day is what Micah Parsons said on the Edge with Micah Parsons about the trade rumors going around. And that's only like
I wonder.
2 months away. And then everyone's like, wow, what was that ad for that really cool podcast?
Obviously.
NFL Daily during
With
that.
Gregg Rosenthal.
Do you think that there's going to be a situation with Cam Jordan's Off the Edge podcast and Micah Parsons' The
Ooh,
Edge
podcast wars.
I don't know which one was first. I assume it was Off the
It was-
Edge with Cam Jordan.
Yeah, he's been doing that for a minute.
That's not fair. I don't like it.
Just,
All right,
you know.
Jordan.
Okay. Guys, Mike Evans has hit at least 1,000 receiving yards per season in each of his 10 NFL seasons. He's 251 yards away from exactly 1,000 yards with 3 regular season games left. 2, if you're a but 17 games person, which in fairness, that is a valid thing to be. My gift to Mike, you're going to keep your streak intact. I don't care what happens over the next 2 weeks. You get your streak. You are joy on a football field. Your existence and excellence for so long makes me and so many others who appreciate the craft of your game happy. You are getting your streak, Mike Evans. My gift, the world's gift, the universe's, football's gift to you for giving so much to it over the last 10 years.
Only 251 yards away.
He went off this weekend, and
He really did.
he would tie Jerry Rice's record of 11 consecutive seasons with at least 1,000 receiving yards.
He and this streak is a rare streak that everyone agrees on. Like everyone's happy that
That's
it
what
exists.
Christmas is all about.
I love it. Just a couple quick ones too that just throwing out. These are more like stocking stuffers. For Gerard Mayo, I'm just going to like give him a filter. I didn't get one.
Like a Brita filter?
I don't know. This is more of a metaphysical one, kind of like you were giving out. Just like, I didn't realize this until pretty recently in life. I'm not even kidding. You can have unexpressed thoughts. You know what I mean? Like if something
it's a big moment for you, Gregg.
If something comes into your head, you don't have to just immediately say it. There can be something in between when you think it and when it comes out of your mouth.
Yeah. Or it just doesn't come out of your mouth. The thought.
That's what the filter's for.
Yeah.
You can hold it for later. You can hold it for never. But I think Gerard could use it.
I have a very timely story about this, actually, Gregg, because you and I were texting earlier this week. And you texted me a take about Drake May. And
we don't need to go back to more Drake
May. I said, well, I know this is the arc of the Gregg universe, always cycles back to Drake May. So you texted me this take that you had. And I said, you said, I'm about to post it on Twitter just to feel alive. And I said, RIP. And then you said, nope, you were the buffer between me actually saying it, except you said it anyway on the last show.
Oh, yeah.
So
it wasn't that hot a take. Well, the podcast is different than sending out on Twitter. Just that if you're in a redraft, I think he's a absolutely reasonable QB1 now. He would be the number one overall.
He said it a second time.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, that's good.
That's it. It's different. Twitter's angry, or they get all worked up. Podcast, we're friendly here. And then finally, the Arizona Cardinals. I just want to give them a night out without the kids. You know what I mean? I don't think they're enjoying the moment enough. They're like 7-7. No one pays attention to them. It's like, this story is great. Their over-under before the year was like 5.5. Like, it just feels like the vibes aren't as good as they should be. Like, the way they're coaching up this relative lack of talent, be happy with what you are. And also just, they do need a little love and attention. So just a night out, maybe to get pampered without the kids. And we find out on Tuesday, as we're taping this, that they're getting put in primetime on NFL Network.
Gregg, that's some real host stuff right there.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice one.
This gift was written down before I knew the NFL Network triple header, which, by the way, in a couple Saturdays, Colleen, I read as part of the press release, is hosting this whole day. Wait, you're giving me a look now. You're giving me Gregg face.
I forgot that I was doing it.
You are aware of this.
Okay,
right?
it's a triple header.
I just remembered that I'm doing the double header this Saturday too. And I recently remembered that.
It's pretty good on NFL Network.
Awesome.
Triple header, Chargers, Patriots. So you got Drake May, Justin Herbert, which I think is probably his best comp in the NFL. Maybe is Justin Herbert. That's a fun quarterback matchup. You have Bengals, Broncos, which depending on the results of this week's
TNF,
game, Bengals could be right in it and hope that the Chargers are collapsing. Either way, they should still.
Well, Denver also, if they beat the Chargers on TNF, that they could clinch a playoff spot.
So that's fun too. And then, the Cardinals haven't gotten a lot of pop this year, I feel like, despite all the fun. You want to prove it? Come to Hollywood. You got Jourdan Rodrigue up in the press box.
Woo.
It's a Saturday night game. Everyone's watching. Their playoff lives will be on the line. That's fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the previous games they played this year was the lowest watched game in recorded broadcast history, right? The one on, was that the
Cardinals?
One on ESPN Plus?
Oh,
that
yeah.
happened?
Well,
so
that
this
doesn't
is great.
count.
They'll
That's
be in
unfair.
prime time. They'll be in prime time. They'll be able to, hopefully, I mean, you know what? They might even feel extra charitable this holiday season and get Trey McBride a touchdown.
That would
Finally. That would be, I mean,
How generous.
as long as we're giving things.
That would be
You know?
absolutely great. And I
It'll be fun.
love that this division is coming down to these last couple weeks. The Rams will have the Cardinals and Seahawks back to back, and those two games will help decide it. All right, we are taking another break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk a little Broncos-Chargers. Yes, that game will inform your triple header. It's Colleen Wolfe season on NFL Network.
It's the winter of Josh and Colleen.
Ooh. Yes.
Hey now, where was this one?
Is this like Trans-Siberian Orchestra?
Oh, this is my style of Christmas music.
This is very like NFL game
It's totally
holiday coverage type of music, which is probably why it's in our music library
Yeah.
somewhere. It was It was like the TNF 2017 like intro.
Blink-182 cover.
I was thinking the other day, like, I can't believe that Fox is still doing Football Robot, too. Like, that has been a thing for so long, Football Robot. And it's
Like
still
the
here.
mascot?
Yeah.
Oh.
I
Maybe
always
people
thought
are-
it was
Box-
so
the big
weird.
boxy fella?
People are attached
Yeah.
to it maybe now that if they took it away, they'd be mad. They're still doing the drawings, the drawings
are.
that make you look like a superhero or just weird or way hotter than you actually are. It's like one of the three. Justin Herbert, not a guy who needs to be made any better looking. A fine-looking young man who is going to be going up against Bo Nix and this Broncos team. The Chargers won the first time around, so they could sweep them. They would have the better seed in the AFC. I think that could kind of matter because if you can get the best wild card seed here or even the second best, you might avoid the Bills. Who knows, though? It's a lot of guesswork how it will work out. Even
I
if
know how you
both
do
these
all
teams-
of these like different combinations and you
Yeah.
know all of you go into the lab this time of season. So I kind of rely on that.
That is true, and that's why this game is in a weird spot. Sometimes games like this happen where both teams are probably in, but it's a bigger game for the Chargers because they're a game behind. And if they lost it, they would fall to 8-7, and suddenly they would be in a situation where they would not be able to stumble down the stretch with some easier games. Broncos coming off a good one. Like, they just seem like they're a better team now than the Chargers.
Well, yeah, haven't they won 4 straight?
Because I'm always kind of rooting for the Chargers. But I have to admit the Broncos are just, like, when you're better, and I think about this every game for the Broncos, is their offensive line better than the other team's defensive line? In this game, despite Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack, the answer is yes. Like, the Chargers just haven't been rushing the passer well. And then on the flip side, is their pass rush better than the other team's offensive line? Again, the answer is yes. When the answer to that is yes, almost every week, you win a lot of games.
One of the things to that point, is these are both units on either side of the ball that have gotten better and better and better and better as time has passed in Denver. And the Chargers have either stayed the same or have deteriorated in some ways, sometimes due to injury, other times just due to like a lack of completeness or dimension that it exists within that team right now. I've remained really impressed with what Jesse Minter has done with that defense, considering what they entered the season with. But the Broncos are just playing more complete. And that's how I would kind of describe the Broncos right now. This is the time of year where you want to be as complete a team as possible in every phase. The defense isn't just solid. They are attacking. The Broncos and the Chargers defense are 2 of the 3 teams that are leading the league right now in limiting points per game. What is the third team? Your favorite?
Wait, what?
The third team that's the third team that's a 3-way tie in teams that are limiting scoring.
For Christmas, I'd like to get Colleen, like, pay attention, Colleen. I don't know.
I was trying to tee up the Eagles for you, Colleen.
Well, I was
Eagles
going to say the
defense.
Eagles, but I wasn't actually
Eagles
all the way
defense.
dialed in on
Eagles
that.
defense
happens. It
renaissance.
happens.
But the difference though is that the Broncos are scoring. They lead the league in scoring defense right now. They've accounted for 34 points between interception returns for a touchdown, fumble recoveries for a touchdown, and safeties. And that's the difference. And the Chargers, I think, have scored once on defense this season. I'd have to fact check. I'm sure someone will tell me online at some point after this runs. But that's the difference. Is it's not just the completeness, but they also attack and they're asserting. And on the other side of the ball, I don't feel the Chargers attacking teams very effectively. It's like a banged up Justin Herbert throwing to a banged up Lad McConkey, and that is really fun and exciting, but they're not running the ball effectively. Meanwhile, the Broncos just seem to keep getting better as time passes, or even if better's not exactly the right word, completeness. You feel this completeness with what they can do.
And the Broncos, they had this late bye, which is always helpful. They've won 4 straight. The Chargers have lost 3 of their last 4. And when you think about that game against the Chiefs, how it came down to the very end, Justin Herbert, now he's dealing with this ankle injury on a short week. They need to fix things. They don't have time to fix things. They don't have time to heal. I expect the pass rush to absolutely get after Justin Herbert. He's not going to be as mobile, obviously. And we saw what they were able to do against Anthony Richardson, who is a lot more mobile. And I just think that the Broncos pass rush, they'll have time to get to Herbert, because I saw that Patrick Surtain, he was on the estimated practice report, a full participant. So the secondary, I expect them to hold up and give the pass rush even more time. I don't think it's really great for the Chargers.
Okay, I don't either, but I'm trying to make the case for it. Now, the offensive line for the Chargers really struggled with the Bucs blitzes last week. The Chargers are actually second in the league in terms of giving up unblocked pressures. So just no one's blocked. There's total confusion where to block the guy. And yet they're right in the middle of the pack in total pressures, which to me is a Justin Herbert stat, which he gets rid of the ball. I do remember this first game. They went on these long drives. The Chargers did. They got out to a huge lead in Denver. It was probably their most impressive performance of the season to that point. Herbert was finally healthy and moving around. And I do think, even though this wasn't the case last week, he's such a smart player that I worry about blitzing him because I think sometimes that plays into his hands, that he knows where to go with the ball and it gives him easier answers. And his guys don't get that open in general. So if there's less guys in the secondary, they can be a little more open. And he's such a smart quarterback that it almost helps define what he needs to do for an offense that's struggling to create open receivers. That said, the Bucs cooked him up pretty good last week, especially after there was a play where they fell on his ankle.
Yeah.
His numbers before that injury, 8 for 10, 10 for 101 yards. After, he was 13 for 23 for 94 yards and an interception. So
Well, they were shut out in the second half.
yeah, so it got ugly, and we'll see. Like, I do think, like, you just need Justin Herbert to be the best player in this game by a decent amount, and that's just the Chargers' best hope, that they have him, and the Broncos don't. They have Bo Nix, who struggled the last couple weeks.
That's part of the reason I think they're going to try to throw stuff at him and get him not just in a vulnerable position physically for, taking hits or whatever, but in a vulnerable position where they're going to see how well he can move on that leg, which is going to be harder to do as the game goes on because you can treat it up the way that you do before a game. But as time passes through that game, if a team keeps attacking, like I almost wonder if they really get after him early. The problem too with the Chargers right now is the lack of dimension in the ways that they can protect him. One of the ways that you can protect a quarterback who is banged up is with a run game. And they haven't been running the ball effectively. And again, part of that is due to injury. But the other part is they just have not been executing very effectively. And then the most effective and efficient play becomes put the ball in Justin Herbert's hands.
They didn't even try to run last week.
Yeah, because he's the best player on the team. So put the ball in his hands. And on the one hand, you can understand the logic, but then on the other hand, it opens him up to get killed out there. So they're in a tough spot. The line to walk for an effective game plan when you do have a superstar quarterback, but he is hurt in this way and banged up in this way, is so thin in terms of what kind of a plan. And I just believe, because I've seen the Broncos, especially their defense and now their offense, win in a couple of different ways this season, that they'll be able to adjust to what the Chargers try to do.
I think because they can't establish the run, they're going to just be forced into obvious passing situations. And if Herbert's ankle is still a real issue, the Broncos are going to win this, and they'll clinch their first playoff spot since 2015.
On the flip side, the Chargers defense got cooked by Tampa in the second half of that game. Look, they were ahead by 4 at halftime. It was 17-13. And there are some similarities, I think, between the Bucs and the Broncos in terms of their quarterbacks get the ball out really quickly. Their coordinators can really scheme up open receivers, that both teams are really good blocking for their receivers on the perimeter and just kind of creating first read football. And that's what Bo Nix needs. When you take away his first read, he is just not nearly as effective. That is the Chargers' best hope in this game, is that Bo Nix's slump, if you want to call it that, continues. Now, last week, he was 2 for 8 for 33 yards and 3 picks when throwing over 10 yards. He struggled. It was the first time since September he looked like the Bo Nix from September. And they closed out the game okay, and people were like, oh, yeah, he bounced back and had a couple touchdown passes. And it was like just a swing pass to a wide receiver that got blocked up, and then 2 other guys that are wide open. And we know he can hit the first read. So if they can open up plays like that, but he just seemed a little stuck in his head. He was at 3 or 4 yards per attempt. And remember, the game before that, he threw 3 interceptions in that game as well. So that's 5 picks in the last couple weeks. That would be the hope for the Chargers.
I do wonder if the Broncos try to get his pocket moving a little bit, but also get him moving a little bit. Picking up gimme yards, different things. This late down the season, you don't want to put your quarterback in danger. But what you said about, the Broncos and the Bucs reminding you of each other, like Baker and Bo Nix remind me of each other a lot in that regard, where some of these games that Baker has won for the Bucs, and Sean Payton certainly has an eye on this tape, is, he's picking up some of the gotta have it yards by himself. That way, extending the run game out to the flats, extending the run game into what the quarterback can actually do. And that'll change the way a defense has to play. You might be able to open up some of that short stuff because you're sending one extra defender maybe out into the side or the flat area to try to counter the potential that the quarterback can pick it up with his legs.
I'm amazed the Chargers are favored in this game by 2.5.
It's a home. Is it not? It's a home game, right?
I know it's at home, but it really just feels like the Broncos have been a better team lately. And even though I'll wear my biases, like I want the Chargers to win this game, I'm picking the Broncos just because you got to pick the team that you think is the better team. I do think they're the better team.
Yeah, I think the Broncos win.
I'm picking the Broncos. I actually do think it will be very low scoring between both teams because I think Jesse Minter's defense will rebound in a little bit of a.
Love that. And
Like how
the Broncos don't have much of a running game either. And when you're making Bo Nix and their passing game a little one-dimensional, you're right. That could be a low-scoring game. And shout out to Nick Bonito.
I love watching him play.
The Broncos fans
so
are
good.
pushing like the Defensive Player of the Year stuff, and it is, it's a tough ask because the first 5 or 6 weeks of the season, like he had an extremely low pressure rate. Like he was, by the numbers, a below average pass rusher for 5-6 weeks of the season. But awards are funny sometimes. If you do something crazy in this game after
the end of
having
the
these
season.
back-to-back pick sixes and you have 11 sacks, if he ends up leading the league in sacks, like he gets to 15 in sacks, and he has one more like really crazy memorable play, he's gonna have a chance. So go out there and be special, Nick Bonito, because you're pretty fun to watch.
I know his ascension since week 7. Next Gen has him the 7th highest pressure rate among all edge rushers with at least 150 rushes. So it's not exactly like if you start the season hot, it's ascending. It's kind of like he is kind of, to me, embodies what a lot of this team has done over this year is they've started to ascend, figure things out, and really go from reacting and responding to what teams try to do them to asserting in different ways. And Nick Bonito, I think, embodies a lot of that.
It's a microcosm of the team.
And there's actually not an obvious Defensive Player of the Year right now. So maybe go a little crazy. That was it. This was fun. This was the last Christmas-themed episode until our next one, which will be on Christmas Eve morning. No, I don't know if that'll be Christmas Eve.
I don't have
Or
any
not.
more themed
No, I'm just
holiday
saying.
themes
I can
left
come
in
up with
me.
something.
Okay, you're not even going to be here.
Yeah, but maybe I'll just throw some ideas out.
We're just going to do an isolated fan cam on Colleen as she celebrates her family Christmas.
Hey, it'll
That's
be
gonna be the
entertaining,
show.
I promise.
Maybe
Sing
we-
Christmas carols.
Maybe we can
teams
get
or
your
players.
brother Tim on the show.
Hey,
Finally
maybe.
give him some pop, right?
All right, enough.
All right, look, when we're breaking down, the NFL Network's got a triple header with Colleen in the mix. You know football is back. See you Wednesday.